Everyone, welcome in to CBS Sports HQ. Happy Halloween, by the way. I'm dressed up as a ballerina. I'm Jacqueline D'Agostino also. So this is literally my high school ballet costume, literally my point shoes, and that's all I got for you. So we're getting spooky here on CBS Sports HQ. And of course, all of our guests on the show today are going to be dressed up as well. They better be. They better not have left me hanging by myself as the only one dressed up. But what about the football teams in the NFL? Are they dressing up as a contender? Are they actually pretenders? What teams are actually scary good and could be a threat as we are just 100 days out from the Super Bowl 60? And for that, let's welcome in our very own Ryan Wilson, who is dressed up. I don't know what you are, Ryan. I thought maybe you were the Phillies Karen, maybe Mrs. Doubtfire. Am I correct in any of these predictions? What are you dressed up as for Halloween?
Happy Halloween, Jacqueline. I love your costume. I would only love it more if you were last year's version and this year's version. Pete Prisco as a ballerina. As for me, I didn't know we'd be working together, but this works out perfectly. So producer Bodie made this happen. Take a step into the future with me, if you will, Jacqueline, and let's go see Ryan Wilson, age 6'7". What? Yeah, let's go.
I had a feeling because Ryan has been on his 6'7" shtick like literally all week. I had a feeling it had something to do with this, but thank you so much for bringing that back in and using the ultimate dad joke. Ryan, we're going to go through your top 5 scariest teams in the NFL. Number 5, we're talking about a team here where the coach has been in the Coach of the Year conversation. The quarterback has the 3rd best odds for MVP, only behind Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Of course, we're talking about the New England Patriots here coming in at number 5.
Yeah, and it is crazy to think that the New England Patriots are in this conversation, given how sideways things have gone in recent years, post Tom Brady, with Bill Belichick before he left. Josh McDaniels returns to be the offensive coordinator. Mike Vrabel has turned this organization around in mere months. There was no 2 or 3 year conversation about when we're going to fix this thing. We are here, and it is happening. This is a 6-2 team. They had a stumble against the Steelers earlier in the season. That feels like a million miles ago. You talk about Drake May playing at a high level. The defense is playing really well, and they are invested in buying in to what Mike Vrabel is selling. And I am ecstatic with how good Drake May has been. He has, Jacqueline, been better than last year's first overall pick, Caleb Williams, and of course Jaden Daniels. He's outplayed all those quarterbacks in that draft class, and it shows on the field, and it's why they are incredibly scary in terms of the team to face now and once we get to January.
Yeah, you mentioned the Patriots and their one slip up. Another team that we're going to get to now coming in at number 4 also had a slip up against the Cleveland Browns. We're talking about the Packers here coming in at number 4. Why are they your number 4 scariest team, Ryan?
I think we continue to sleep on Jordan Love because he's not Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre before him yet. But a lot of the things he does looks a lot like what those guys do when they were in their prime. Favre's obviously a Hall of Famer. Aaron Rodgers will be 5 years after he retires. And Matt LaFleur, he gets credit, but sometimes maybe not enough credit with how he gets his guys open consistently against whether good or average opponents. I would say average last week against the Steelers. The Steelers had no answers in the second half of that game. They'll get the running game going. The offensive line when healthy is really good. And the defense has some guy named Micah Parsons who's playing exactly like we thought Micah Parsons would play, whether it's going to be in Dallas or Green Bay. This team has, you talk about the loss to the Browns, which is hard to wrap your brain around, and the one tie, but they are playing some really good football right now, and it feels sustainable no matter the time of year weather-wise, mostly because of the way Jordan Love has played when he's healthy.
Yeah, you mentioned a Pete Prisco ballerina version. I'm sorry I couldn't deliver that. But speaking of Pete Prisco, he said the other day on our program that he doesn't even think we've seen anywhere close to the best of Jordan Love or the best of the Packers, which is certainly kind of dangerous to think about, right? All right, let's go to number 3 here. And this is a team that has 3 very unique things from 3 different players. They have someone who is tied for the most passing touchdowns, check. The most scrimmage touchdowns, check. And then someone who is tied for the most receiving touchdowns, check, check, check. What team is this, Ryan, coming in at number 3?
Well, I hope you're talking about the Detroit Lions. That's who I have on my list here. If not, let me know. But the thing about Detroit is this. The big concern, Jacqueline, about this team coming into the season was what? The offensive coordinator left to take the job in Chicago, and Ben Johnson. And Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, left to take the Jets job. And we've seen this movie before in Philadelphia a few years ago when they lost Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen, and the team wasn't quite the same. They fixed it a couple years later once they got new coordinators in there. There's been no real hiccups here after the first couple of weeks. And this defense with Kelvin Shepard as the DC is playing at a pretty high level, even with a ton of guys injured. We talk all the time and make excuses at times about injuries affecting how teams perform. The Ravens are the most recent example. But Aiden Hutchinson is playing like at an MVP level, coming back off that serious injury. Jared Goff is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the best wide receivers. And Jahmyr Gibbs is one of the best running backs. And when you have that with a really good offensive line, you are formidable, and they're the best team in their division, and I would argue they're the best team in the NFL. So, yeah, you don't want to play them no matter the time of year.
And it's funny to think about now in the offseason, we were having doubts, right? You know, what are they going to do with both their coordinators gone? And it feels like they've picked up right where they left off. All right, we're finally getting into your top two scariest teams. As a fan of a team in the AFC South, I'm a little salty that it is not my AFC South team we're talking about here, but we have to give credit where credit is due to Shane Steichen and what they've been able to do. But why are they coming in at number 2, Ryan, despite being the current 1 seed in the AFC?
Yeah, the one concern is who is Daniel Jones going to be in late December, January, or February should it get there? Because the conversation we always have about this version of Daniel Jones is, hey, he looks a lot like last year's version of Sam Darnold, who went to the Vikings, balled out. They didn't bring him back, and in part they didn't bring him back because of his last 2 games looked like Sam Darnold's New York Jets version where he was seeing ghosts. If you get the good version of Daniel Jones, this is what it looks like. And it is insane to think about how good he's playing. But he has that running game with Jonathan Taylor, who's a legit MVP candidate. Offensive line is playing out of his mind. He has all those pass catchers. The defense does need to get better. And maybe they'll try to do some things around the trade deadline. But Shane Steichen, it's crazy to say, Jacqueline, has found his quarterback. It's not Anthony Richardson. It's a guy who was a retread thrown on the trash heap in New York and found his way to Indianapolis, is having crazy success. The only thing I'm worried about is January football, and does Daniel Jones turn into a Sam Darnold pumpkin?
Yeah, and you know what? Speaking of the defense, we were talking about yesterday, maybe Trey Hendrickson having a little reunion with Lou Anarumo and going there. We won't tell John Breach that we're potentially, trying to make that come to fruition here and speaking it into existence. Finally, we have reached number 1. Ryan Wilson, who is the number 1 scariest team in the NFL right now?
And this would have been silly to say in weeks 2 or even week 3 when this team was 1-2. But never sleep on the Kansas City Chiefs. If Andy Reid is there and if Patrick Mahomes is there, they are still there. They are still one of the best teams in the NFL, even if they're 5-3. The fact that they're 5-3 after starting 0-2 pretty much tells you all you need to know. Travis Kelce looks to be like his former self, in part because Rashee Rice is back, in part because they have their wide receivers starting to make plays a little bit more consistently. Juju Smith-Schuster has been an integral part of that offense. Brashard Smith, their 7th-round pick, the running back, is getting more involved in much the same way Xavier Worthy was brought along last year as an explosive threat who can get to the edges and make plays. And we know how good that defense is with Steve Spagnuolo. I think the lesson for me, Jacqueline, is, again, as long as Reid and Mahomes